Hey, good morning, and welcome back to the KR Daily Transmission. Feel free to, excuse me, to introduce yourself in the chat or in the video replay feed. The birds are going off this morning for us on this beautiful Monday morning, so welcome to our sacred space. If you're new to the Sophia Code, my name is Kaia, and you've found the platform that activates your sovereign divinity. That's what we're up to worldwide. Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Great to see everyone popping up in the chat. we had some technical difficulties. That Zoom to YouTube platform situation. It's just been a little tricky the past few weeks. Hi, welcome. So good to see everyone popping on. So we are getting ready this week for the Magdalene Rising ceremony. We've got some offerings being made this morning. You might see a little wisp of that incense smoke. And I just want to thank everyone for your profound, your profound feedback. There's a lot of pollen in the air right now. For all of your profound feedback and reflections in both the chat and on the video replay. It was so meaningful for me to read your comments and hear what's coming up for you as we connect with Mary Magdalene and Jesus, Joan of Arc, and the entire order of Magdalena. I've loved reading about all of your breakthroughs. I've loved reading about the ways that you are taking creative risks in your life to experience greater sovereignty in every aspect of your life. It's super exciting to witness what happens when we gather in community and choose to grow together. If you've had an interesting leap forward that you were not expecting to experience over the past few weeks, feel free to share that in the chat if you haven't shared yet in the comments or in previous videos, because we love celebrating you. And this is a community of celebration where we know that as we celebrate one member of our community's wins, we're celebrating all of our wins. It's like one person's victory in our community is all of our victory. We're all connected. And of course, this has been proven through quantum physics and a lot of like that metaphysical to physical science research that's happening right now on good morning that's happening in different transformational fields. But the ancient ones have known this for thousands of years, that when communities decide to ascend together, miracles happen on an individual level that honestly could take years or even lifetimes to accomplish. So from my heart to yours, this incense is going off. Just gonna move it over here. Thanks for being here, and thanks for being committed to your growth, and also for committing to your transformation and your commitment and your willingness to show up to the Magdalene Rising ceremony that's happening this April 13th at noon Pacific. I am so looking forward to it. And I know that the Ascended Masters are really looking forward to it as well. It's when we do these live online channeled broadcast ceremonies, the whole thing is channeled. Like what I go through before the ceremony and when I go through after, like there's such an integration process for me, because it's truly like 2 hours to 2.5 hours of purely channeled content. And it's my greatest joy to be able to do that. And it's a big give. And so it's a truly sacred time that we get to receive these activations from the Ascended Masters directly. And wherever you're ready to really lean into those edges that truly want to release and expand simultaneously, that's what's going to happen at the Magdalene Rising ceremony. So this month in April, our topic is leadership. And that topic is being supported by these massive astrological phenomenons that are happening that started at the end of March and are leading us right into the powerful opening of May. And we didn't know that when we planned the Magdalene Rising ceremony and the Austin event, which is based on sovereign spiritual leadership, coming up May 2nd through 4th. But that's one thing that's interesting for me about astrology. The more that I learn about it, the more that I realize I've really lived my life intuitively following these planetary alignments, whether I'm aware of them or not. And it's got my curiosity piqued of how empowering it is to, honestly, when you are in alignment with your connection with source, when you mentor with these ascended masters, when you choose to make intuitive, divinely guided action decisions based on dialing into source first through meditation and prayer, I think what happens is you naturally align with these very powerful astrological conjunctions and phenomenons and transits that are, they're like their own angelic entities in the sky, guiding our evolutionary journey and guiding our spiritual awakening, and kind of like, I guess, guardrails and touchstones and divine forces that are like wind behind our back. Or it's sometimes, if you're dealing with Saturn slowing you down, or Mercury retrograde, it's like part of that is the seeming inertia of retrogrades or Saturn coming down in certain areas of your life is actually muscle building. It's where we're learning how to get stronger in who we genuinely are and what we're genuinely here to focus upon and serve in this lifetime. So through that alignment, our events for this spring have miraculously just been on point, and I'm so grateful for that, because it's like our prayer for this container is to always be serving you exactly where you're at in your journey, and all of our individual journeys are being informed by this collective rising that's happening right now across the planet for light workers worldwide. So thank you for being a part of that alignment with source. Thank you so much for choosing to show up and do your inner growth here with us. It's our pleasure and privilege to be mentoring with the Ascended Masters side by side with you. James is sharing today that he wanted to share a breakthrough that he had with his inner child. Mary Magdalene helped show me an inner child aspect that felt abandoned and alone and didn't want to be here on the planet at this time. This was very powerful for James. I love that so much. Thank you for sharing that. Interestingly enough, James, I experienced something very similar this weekend, where my mentorship with Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene and Jesus really helped me have a very deep conversation with a part of my inner child that's been feeling a lot about all the traveling that I'll be doing this year. And, that can trigger a lot for her. I used to travel constantly for this ministry, and because of the pandemic, that kind of slowed up a lot, given my beliefs and what I will or will not allow into my reality. And so this door that's opening this year for us to produce our Sovereign Soul events. And I also have a very special announcement about an appearance coming up that is not in the U.S. So I'm really excited to share that one in the Magdalene Rising ceremony. But my inner child was like feeling some fears and dragging her feet and kicking up a storm a little bit inside of me. And I had to slow down, and I called in Jesus and Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary. And I said, I need some backup support here, because the wounded part of my inner child doesn't match what I know is true for myself and my adult reality. So help me bridge the gap here, as of course, always with Kuan Yin as well, right? All of these ascended masters, they work so beautifully together. And I also called upon the Divine Mother. And I used that Divine Mother prayer, which we can practice today together, to really open up my heart to receiving those divine interventions of grace that can come from the Divine Mother, where if we've been working on a wound, bringing a lot of presence and attention to it, but it still keeps being inflamed and triggered. That's when we really need to turn to the power of God within us, the power of our Creator, our Source, and really ask for those miracles to flow to the one within us that survived what we survived, and to receive that divine light and that divine love and her perfect healing of grace to really help us move beyond some of those obstacles with the most compassion and the most love. I mean, I truly believe in the Divine Mother's grace. It's why, I said yes to a divine feminine movement for sovereignty. It was like my reconciliation with the Divine Mother was profound, as you read about in the preface of the Sophia Code, and it changed my life forever to have that mother consciousness brought back to my awareness that it was safe to trust and it was safe to receive a divine mother caring for me the way I always wished a mother would care for me. And so, yeah, that's what the Magdalenes are all about. I think that's a perfect lead-in. Thank you, James, and thank you to everyone who's been writing in about their breakthroughs and their healing work from this week and this weekend. The Magdalenes were a mystic and are a mystic, oracular lineage that somehow got lumped into this Christian ideology through the Roman Empire. And what they were doing before the Romans ever co-opted their lineage, they were doing what every lineage of masters were doing for centuries: meditating, praying, being like very conscious about their diet, their health, their physical training, activating their spiritual centers, having these direct trainings for understanding and translating the visions that they receive through their own connection to their divinity. It's like so much of what they were doing has nothing to do with religion. And when we reconnect with the heart of the Magdalenes, what we discover is that they were practicing a pathway where they honored the Divine Mother as the birther of all life and the divine masculine principles even that arose out of that divine feminine context. And further, how that divine feminine, divine masculine, these principles of God consciousness merge and work together as one to express the totality of sovereignty in this world. It's very, very powerful. And as we approach this Magdalene Rising ceremony, you're going to start to feel a stronger calling to the Divine Mother, to your prayer, to your meditation practice. I mean, I have been spontaneously meditating and praying over the past couple of weeks in ways that honestly, they're outside of my scope of understanding, and they are all divinely guided. That's a divine feminine call to action. Sit down and receive. Sit down and open up. Choose to be still and listen to the voice of God coming through you. Listen for the somatic information to take action upon, right? It's like that calling back into the Divine Mother, the Sacred Heart of the Divine Mother, that calling back to be still and receive, allows us to springboard forward with divinely guided actions that are extremely important for recognizing your true self during this very powerful astrological alignment. One of the things that's been coming up for me in my prayers and my meditation is really separating myself from all of the things that I do, right? I do things all day long for leadership, for service, for this ministry. And I think a lot of people separate the doing from divine feminine. Oh, well, that's divine masculine. And that's not true, because if you are living your life full of divinely guided action, that those actions come as inspiration from the listening, from the receiving of the divine feminine. And those thoughts and those steps are actions that are inspired. They're not from the ego structure that's like frantically trying to figure something out. It's like, if you are really in your divine feminine principle, you'll discover that divine feminine, divine masculine merging point in prayer and meditation is when you've been like aligned with your source, you've called in your circle of empowerment, you're listening to your higher self, and then you start to take action. You start to feel the energy moving, and you're like, oh, got to call that person, got to book this thing, ready to have that conversation, time to introduce this, gonna, have some sort of breakthrough at the gym. I just saw it. I just felt it. Here we go. It's like, there's a kind of like atomic alchemy that happens when you're so in alignment that the action that arises it's not divine feminine, it's not divine masculine. It's the merging of both, expressing the totality of your sovereign divinity. Super powerful. And with that said, the ego structure can often identify that over identify with action oriented accomplishments as its source of self. Like, the ego structure is so tricky that way. It's like, well, if you do all this leadership things, you accomplish all these things and help all these people, then now you can value yourself. Now you can feel as though your worth is, you can up level your sense of self-esteem and your worth. And it's like, that's not what leadership is for. Leadership is a mirror to discover the wholeness of who you are, that you are so whole in your service to others that it can be a sovereign divine expression, an outpouring of divine love. And through that outpouring of that sovereign whole outpouring of divine love, you bask in the radiant reflection of what's pouring through you. And you realize that everything you're being guided to serve and everyone you're being guided to serve, it's all part of a divine orchestration of grace that's flowing through you. The ego structure, though, at times when our wounding comes up, will have you, think that somehow you can base your self-esteem or your worth on that, and that's codependent leadership. And we're going to talk about that in Austin, and we're going to share a little bit more of that at the Magdalene Rising ceremony on Wednesday. It's like, this is why we want to embrace leadership, is because it's one of the most accelerated pathways of self-realization to the difference between sovereignty and codependency. And so in these prayers and meditations with Mary Magdalene these past 2 weeks, and all of the Sophia Dragon Tribe, I've been really enjoying the process of stepping back from that prefrontal cortex operating system of my human awareness, my own ego structure, my own healing journey, as well as my own higher self embodiment, stepping even further back in that compassionate witness, and asking myself to tune into the unlimited, boundless, sovereign soul that I am, that gets to play the cowgirl in this lifetime, the human body, leadership, or woman, or partner, or teammate, or employer, or creator. It's just like, those are all things that I'm participating in. Those are things that I get to do. I get to have all my feelings about, both positive and negative, but it's not actually who I am. And I really want to offer that to you this morning. Like, your divine purpose and your spiritual leadership is an expression of your divinity, which goes so far beyond your human identity. And your divinity is constantly, relentlessly seeking for ways for you to know thyself within within a hyper aware container, which that's what leadership is. Like, the stakes are higher. There's other people involved. There's a immediate biofeedback of what's working and what's not working. And there's the constant triggering of, are you going to stay within your higher self's consciousness or in your ego? And it's like, that's why we're drawn to leadership. That's why we're drawn to mentors like Mary Magdalene and Jesus. It's because we do want our feet to the fire. We want to stay like really honest with our own heart about who we are and why we're choosing to serve and why our divine purpose is so important to us. I share a lot about this in the Stargate 2 curriculum. It's because we want to know ourselves so intimately, and the ways that we discover the depths and the heights of our soul is when we choose to allow that soul's light to come forward and interact with others in this world, which is true sovereign leadership. And learn, and inviting your human awareness to surrender into and learn how to be operated by your divine consciousness. That's a very powerful spiritual technology, and kind of like data processing that's happening in real time in every present moment within you as you step forward to be seen and received by others in your service. So let's take a moment to drop in with Magdalene and really step into our week together in preparation for the Magdalene Rising ceremony. I hope some of these thoughts and reflections are landing within you. I hadn't really planned on sharing any of that, but it feels like what was to be shared this morning. Let's see what we've got going in happening in the chat today. If you want to share a reflection, Alicia is sharing, this is what stops me from sharing. I feel like it's too much about me. What a poignant and authentic statement, Alicia. Thank you so much for sharing. So let's talk about, how do you know if it's too much from you? So if you have a pure intention, a pure prayer to be of leadership, to be of service, right? Because we talk about leadership as being of service. If your intention to serve is informed by your love of the divine, by wanting to be a vessel, a vehicle of awakening for others, as Mary Magdalene shares in the Sophia Code, you can trust that that prayer is guiding your expression. And that even when we feel the edges of our ego structure or our fears kind of leaking into how we're leading, the grace of the Divine Mother and the power of your prayerful intention is going to self-correct. You're going to feel it. And in that somatic identification of, oh, there's a little bit too much of my stuff in this share, and maybe I need to pivot back to that more universal teaching coming through from the divine. It's like, it's not about punishing ourselves. It's about showing up and, showing up and swinging the bat every time. Just like, hey, jumping on that horse, whether it's going to be the best ride of your life or a real practice in patience on that horse. It's like, our prayer is to show up. And let me tell you, the divine honors the prayer of showing up and you getting in that rodeo ring and deciding you're going to face your greatest fears and trust that your prayer is guiding you. Your prayer is almost like the reins that are helping you rein in the ego structure and stay on the path of your higher self's embodiment. And I think that's the number one thing that stops people from leading. And I'm so grateful that you shared that, Alicia, because we can't allow our fears of making mistakes or being too egotistical to stop us. Like, if your prayer is sincere and you are truly sitting in your practice every day, whether it's through meditation, prayer, moving your body, opening up to source, asking for the wounds within you to be softened and healed by the grace of your higher self, your leadership is ironically going to keep you honest to that healing path. It's going to help you soften into more and more of your higher self, not by running away from your leadership. And I had to discover that from myself, because most of my life I've been extremely hard on myself. And after for years, after every offering I would make, I would just spend hours analyzing, was it too much? Did I not see the right thing? How could I have done better? How could I have articulated this better? And it was like, did you show up? Did you do your best? Did you make a prayer for your higher self to be flowing through you? If you did that, then the rest will even itself out, and it will continue to even out, and better, most importantly, lives are being served. People are receiving whatever medicine was able to come through that day. I really hope that this is helpful and it's landing, and that it's opening our hearts to the possibility that we don't have to be perfect. It's about being perfectly ourselves and showing up to that prayer and trusting that that prayer is guiding us far beyond our wounding or in our understanding. Oh, let's see, this great. Oh, Alicia's saying, wow, I feel so blessed to receive these messages. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure. Thank you for wanting to lead and stepping up in your divine purpose. And Pam was sharing that I spent time with Mary Magdalene this morning. It felt so amazing. I'm so grateful to hear that. Lindsay is sharing our link for the Stargate 2 curriculum, which is a profound curriculum for facing your deepest fears about stepping into your leadership. Jade is sharing, who's also one of our Sophia Circle leaders, that this is so helpful and it's landing within her. David's sharing that this is resonating very deeply for me, and Jeff is sharing that this is perfectly on point for me as well. Awesome, because that's the prayer. Just want to be helpful, right? So thank you. I'm glad that is landing within you. And let's close today's morning transmission with a little meditation. Good morning, Rachel. Great to see you. If you're new to my channel, if you're new to Mary Magdalene, you can read all about her in the Sophia Code in chapter 10. And this is a completely channeled perspective from Mary Magdalene about what it was like to be her as she walked the earth, and what it's like to mentor with her here and now in this lifetime. And we're going to have this remarkable channel ceremony on April 13th, which is just this Wednesday. So be sure to sign up if you haven't already signed up. And there's a video replay included. So if you can't join us live, no worries. I'm wearing the Sophia Dragon's pendant right now, this singing seraphim pendant. And this dragon shirt. I love dragons, obviously, because we're going to be receiving some really powerful downloads about the golden dragon light body in Wednesday's ceremony. That, the Magdalenes are so connected to the seraphim. The seraphim as a holy order of angelic creatures that serve this very sacred heart of the Divine Mother. It's very natural that this seraphim order is supporting the Order of Magdalene's ministry here on this planet and elsewhere. So this morning, I'd just like for us to take several deep breaths together. It's Monday. We got all our fields about it being Monday morning, and that's okay because we roll with the Magdalenes and with the Sophia dragons. So there isn't anything that we can't face with joy in our hearts and the unlimited sovereign divine light of our souls in co-creation with the masters and the angelic orders. Breathing into your beautiful heart. Let's just invite your heart to open a little bit wider today. Visualizing that epic circle of sovereign empowerment around your physical body. Visualizing the first 8 key codes and the 8 directions of your circle. Witnessing the fullness of your higher self's Christ light expanding out from your body to the very edges of this circle. And I welcome and call forth Mary Magdalene, Jesus, and Mother Mary to create a trinity of healing light, to have them move in a position on this circle where there's a triangle that they create. I'm feeling Jesus standing behind me and the 2 Marys before me. And I'm witnessing several of the Sophia Dragon seraphim with their whirling wings and their singing scales coming forward. And one of the Sophia dragons is whispering into your ear, "You are more than good enough to step into your leadership in this lifetime." And then the other dragon is coming forward and she's saying, "The more you are seen, the safer it becomes for you to experience your light radiating in this world." And if you have downloaded the Golden Dragon Light Body, you may begin to feel those golden scales like rippling down, the sensation of them rippling down your physical form, because the Golden Dragon Light Body directly interfaces within the 8 major chakra system. It's a spiritual technology that downloads through your 8th chakra and then expands, anchoring into every major chakra. So you can feel the Golden Dragon Light Body chakras, and those scales are rippling down, surrounding your body. And a third Sophia dragon is coming forward between the 2 Marys, and Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene are sending to your heart. From Mother Mary today, there are these pink flames of Divine Mother's love and healing, she's saying. And Mary Magdalene is sending these blue flames of divine will, as well as beautiful seraphim blue flames of articulation and grace. So this blue and this pink coming directly into your heart with the 2 Sophia dragons on your right and left. Jesus is sending that beautiful violet flame transmission to help you reconnect today with your creativity, your sense of self-worth, your divine inheritance through the Christ consciousness that already exists within you, my friends. Woo, wow, I'm feeling a little bit of this fire just activating me from my root to my crown, and welcoming the presence of this epic Sophia Dragon Mother. Oh my God, the wind is picking up around me. I can feel her coming in strong on behalf of each and every one of us. And she's breathing like this beautiful stardust over your crown chakra, over your third eye, and over your physical eyes. She's refreshing your consciousness to surrender just a little bit more, maybe a whole lot more today, based on whatever you're ready to receive from the grace of the Seraphim transmission, to deepen in your divinely guided inspiration, that it's safe to trust your inspiration. You're learning how to trust your divinely guided inspiration and to follow through on the action steps that you've been given through prayer and meditation. That's a part of leadership. That's the part of leadership that happens behind closed doors that other people benefit later on in life from, right? Down the road. Like all of that divine inspiration that I received for our Sovereign Soul events this year, that all came in meditation and prayer privately. And I got to be with all of my feelings about what I was being asked to produce this year, and now we're throwing open the temple gates and we have so many special events that you get to be a part of this year. What would have happened if I didn't take action? So this Sophia Dragon, she's sharing like celebrate yourself for the actions you're taking this week. Celebrate yourself and honor yourself for the divinely guided inspirational ideas that you took action upon over this past week of mentoring with Mary Magdalene, Jesus, and Mother Mary. And she's saying, allow this stardusted crystalline breath of life to fall fresh upon your awareness. And you may feel a bit of a buzzing in your cells. What happens when we come in contact with the Sophia dragons, they are the seraphim of sovereignty. So what happens is the consciousness of our cells starts to rise up and resonate to the pure resonance of sovereignty, of divinity. And our human awareness is like, okay, let's go. It's like taking an elevator right up to the source. And when you surround yourself with angelic creatures such as the holy seraphim and Jesus and Mary Magdalene, what happens over time is you learn how to maintain that resonance of your sovereign divinity. You learn how to operate your human awareness to stay in alignment with the light of your sovereign divinity and its perspective, which completely liberates you from the matrix programming of this world. And further, when you start to feel yourself fall back into like wounded programming, wounds or social programming or viral programming, what happens is these beautiful guides and mentors, because they've been training you to maintain that high frequency and to learn how to integrate living at that high frequency of your the resonance of your sovereign divine light. When you dip, when you begin to fall in your awareness, you don't fall the way you used to fall. You're like, oh, there's a wobble. There might even be a roller coaster ride, but you know where to rise back up to in your alignment, to the truth of your sovereign divinity, to the unlimited prosperity consciousness of your soul, to the unlimited divine nature of your higher self that has, manifested your body as a miracle in motion on this planet at this time. You come back to the resonance of the truth that your life is literally an angelic mission of the highest order and that you are literally a living angel in human form. And you're like, let's go. I'm staying here where I deserve to resonate with my self-esteem, my self-worth, and my value, right where it belongs, in the truth of my divine nature. So this is what's happening as we connect every day in the KR Daily Transmission. As you read the Sophia Code, dive into our curriculums, you are learning how to integrate and how to live in the sovereign residence of your divinity, and how much your life changes when you learn how to really live life and create life and lead in your service from this sovereign space. I just get so lit up talking about it, and I hope you can feel that passion blessing you today, because that's my prayer for you, to have the most blessed day ever. Thank you for connecting with the Sophia Dragons. Thank you, Holy Seraphim. Thank you to the Order of Magdalene. Thank you, Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary and Jesus, for these blessings this morning, setting us to the resonance of sovereignty for a very empowered week of co-creation and preparation for our Magdalene Rising ceremony happening this April 13th. On Wednesday. And I just want to thank you. Thank you for making this a part of your life. Thank you for being so kind and generous to everyone in our community. I love witnessing the conversations that you're having. I love witnessing how you're encouraging one another and celebrating one another and really witnessing the courage of one another without trying to change one another or try to preach to anyone. I don't like that. I don't, that's not our approach. Our approach is like witnessing the powerful creator that exists within each of us. So thanks for being a part of that kind of an angelic culture that we're co-creating in this global movement. And if you have any questions about our upcoming live events in Austin, Sedona, the Magdalene Rising Ceremony, feel free to reach out to us at kaia.com. My team angels love getting on the phone with you and learning more about you and helping you decide which of these sovereign soul events are going to light you up in 2022 for your sovereign spiritual leadership. Thanks for liking this video, subscribing to my channel. It's such a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you for sharing about the Sophia Code with your loved ones. We'll see you back here again tomorrow around 9 a.m. Pacific for the KR Daily Transmission. Let's go. Giddy up, everyone. Let's have the best day ever.